I don't normally do feature creep episodes when I'm angry, but this one genuinely makes me upset. I'm going to talk about Street Fighter V and some vocal gamers online, and unlike usual, this may not be kid-friendly. Let's yell at each other in the comments below, but first, my opinion. I'm pissed off, and this is feature creep. I get bugs, I get server problems, I get over-entitled customers, bad media spin against games, controversy, occasional bad options, and many more possible problems that can occur in the development of a title. You know what I don't get? The level of incredulous bullshit that it takes to give your customers half a game for full price. Here's the deal, Street Fighter V recently released. It's got a training mode with very limited AI and some online multiplayer matches. That's it. That's all they put out for the game. This is a serialized game in which previous versions have always included variable AI and arcade story-light CPU mode, proper versus mode, and some more characters than SF5 has. What else is missing? Proper controller support across the board, and it's got hardly any solo content to speak of. And why doesn't Capcom have to release the rest of the game right now? Well, they're going to give some of it as a free update in March, but they totes had to get this one to market so that all those pros who play in tournaments can get used to the game so that the tournament looks good. The rest of the customers who buy the game for a multitude of other reasons that don't include hardcore competition? Yeah, that majority of customer base? Fuck them. This is for the pros so they can help Capcom iron out the balance issues before EVO in July. Do you know how other companies do this? Nope, they don't cut their product in half, promise the rest of the base game features a month or more after release and sell it for full price. That's a Capcom strategy. What did Blizzard do for Legacy of the Void? All right, they ran a beta test from March until November 2015. 7 months of solid testing where they made sure all of those pros got access who could help them make the game the best that it could be. And they didn't ask for money outside of pre-orders until it was ready. Pretty sure there were even some tournaments in that beta test window as well. Capcom, on the other hand, figured it was a better idea to not bother with a long beta test because instead they can get some money now. Oh, and don't worry, those other features will come later. But we'll use the retail release as our beta test. That's basically what happened here. Capcom is using all of you who purchased Street Fighter V as a paid beta community between now and the July EVO tournament. Don't you feel ecstatic about that revelation? And then I wander online to look through some of the various news stories, and I see people defending this shit. I see uneducated, ignorant drivel being spewed forth about how the only people who play more than a few hours of Street Fighter are competitors, and most people who buy the game buy it to play online ranked matches. Do you have any idea how ridiculous that is? Look, the majority of gamers in all genres are casual players. It doesn't matter if that's Street Fighter, StarCraft, or any other game. Pros and competitors are a minority. Always. A vocal and very visible minority to be sure, but a minority nonetheless. I simply do not have the faculties to understand the mentality of someone who is not only okay with nonsense like this, but agrees with it, supports it, and then, scariest of all, defends it. Please, if you're one of those arrogant bellends who thinks Capcom is fine doing this nonsense, give me a good logical reason how this is good for anybody but their shareholders. Explain to me how this wouldn't have been better as a beta test, or how it's okay that main game features are coming later. Hopefully. Fuck, that's not even a beta. Beta means feature complete. Missing main features puts this garbage in the realm of an alpha test for sale. I want to know why some gamers defend this stuff. I'm desperate for that knowledge. How someone can wrap their head around a concept with absolutely no basis in logic such that they will argue with other people who have genuine problems with something as though those problems don't matter or shouldn't even be discussed. And we've got games media doing it too. Game Radar posted some drivel about how this backlash proves that we value quantity over quality. That's their article title. And here's a quote for those of you feeling less than happy about what Capcom has done here. Quote, "By any stretch of the imagination, Street Fighter IV is a good value purchase, yet it's also a game that initially didn't deliver a huge amount more material content than SF5 will have by March. So why is Street Fighter V being lambasted?" End quote. Well, my dear video game journalist, that would be because it's not fucking March yet, and that content, which would make Street Fighter V comparable in your view to the good value of 4, is only promises right now. And yet, you know what's not a promise? What's not an item we'll see later? What's not a future edition? The price tag. A while back, I boycotted Capcom. Why? Because they sold a game with DLC content on the disc, the epitome of cut content to sell to the customer, just sitting there on the product you had already bought, waiting for you to unlock it with a credit card. Turns out that my boycott was well placed. And you want to know what the inevitable comment will be now that I've admitted to a boycott? Well, clearly, since I don't buy Capcom products, I have no reason to care about Street Fighter V because it doesn't affect me. Yeah, it does. You're just too young or stupid to have watched the industry change. Let me give you a history lesson, and while we're at it, get off my fucking lawn. Microtransactions in retail products used to be called cheat codes. They were QA tester tools that helped devs test the games, and when players found out about them, we could use the cheats to zip around games, unlock content, and such. Cost of those? Free. DRM used to be in the game box. You would read the fifth word in the third paragraph on page 5 of the manual. Incomplete games didn't happen very often, and when it did, it was reputation destroying. Look up the system breaking bugs that a game like Pool of Radiance had, where it would corrupt your Windows install. And then look at how many great titles Stormfront Studios was trusted with after 2001 when they did that. It couldn't happen a lot of the time. There was no day one patch, no adding features after certification. And now we have full-priced games with frustrating grind structures that somehow make paying extra money to skip it look appealing. Season passes that run well under the value proposition of the base game and overpriced individual DLC that so often adds very little to the game itself. Don't forget the application of free-to-play game mechanics and payment structures in games that aren't free. Double dipping is really a customer-friendly activity, isn't it? Beyond that, online we've got a very select group of gamers. I don't know how many of them there are, and I don't want to paint a large group with a particular brush, but there are some really stupid ones. The group that not only supports microtransactions in retail games, but wants them to be there to make things easier. That is not just fine with, but wants to be able to pay extra dollars for a fucking skin in a game they've already paid $60 for. And why? Because games are so expensive to make these days. Those poor developers. Yeah, that's why we have to have the big bad DRM. That's why some groups in the industry have to go after those darn YouTube copyright infringers with so much gusto. Pay no attention to the fact that both the movie and game industries overall are seeing record sales and profits year over year because games are expensive and we should all just be grateful that we even get games. Are you fucking kidding me? And the best part of this, unlike the movie industry, we don't actually get to know what the sales numbers are because places like Steam force devs to keep that detail hush-hush lest someone be able to figure out how much market share they have. Look, I know that the industry has to change with the times. DRM is certainly a bigger deal now than it was 10 or 20 years ago, and justifiably so. Games are much more an ongoing platform now than they were because of the usefulness of digital distribution. But this false defense of bad business practices is not helping gamers. It doesn't help us to have people defending with the classic attitude of, your problems don't matter, or it's not a big deal, therefore that makes it okay and worth supporting. These are arguments with no logical basis in reality and simply seem to me to come from an overall shift to social media where people feel they need to vomit their opinions into the nether without any justification of why their opinion is a good thing. All that I ask, especially with this utter tripe of a situation with Capcom not releasing a finished product, is that if you want to support or defend anything, that you at least have a shred of a reason to do so. This issue frosted me something fierce. Normally I can emotionally remove myself from a debate, but being a channel focused where possible on trying to educate and inform gamers such that in my own little way I can improve the industry, it really gets on my tits to see other gamers defending bad nonsense with no justifiable reason. I don't even know what to ask for on this one to try and garner discussion in the comments. Hopefully the content of the video is enough to get your own ideas going and we can discuss them down below. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. That's all I have to say. Tarmack out.